The good news is we're all in this together. And when we see we're together, we can work things out. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Energy Week with George Harvey and the amazing Tom Fennell.
Should I stand up and take a bow?
Only if you want to. Every day I get up and I look at the news and I do the stuff that I do, finding news items that I think people might be interested in. I get about 15 items every day, put together a 50 or 55 word synopsis on each with a link to the original. I get those together and put them up at my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. And Tom and I talk about the ones that are the most interesting to us.
The best of the blog.
Best of the blog. And today I came across a piece of news that I think was the worst news I've ever seen in my life.
We're going to talk about it now?
Hoping it's going to be in next week.
Oh, it's in next week?
Yeah, it's not in today's thing, but I'll tell you what it is. And I'm hoping that it's wrong. But scientists, and this is a peer-reviewed study that was published in Nature journal, they have measured a slowdown in the Gulf Stream.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
That's not good.
Not good. Imagine Paris having a weather like Minneapolis.
That's about what would happen.
That's about what would happen.
England, we're talking France.
Yeah.
These guys are like Nova Scotia now.
Right, and northern Scotland would be like Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah, it would.
And the thing that I find really unnerving about this is, you know, many people in Vermont have worked with wood-powered cook stoves.
Sure.
They come up to temperature slowly. You throw the sticks in there and you get that fire going, and if you've got a hot fire, you could have that hot fire going before you start noticing that the ice in a pot above it on the stove surface is melting.
All right.
But if you stop adding sticks, that fire is going to keep going, and that melt is going to keep going. And even if you stop adding sticks and stop the air from going in so the fire goes out,
the ice is
going to continue melting for quite a while. And that's what
seems to be what's happening.
Climate change is like. We have just begun, possibly, to measure a slowdown in the Gulf Stream. But if we stopped putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere now, the Gulf Stream
is still
will,
going to be getting warmer.
Yep, and the estimates that I've seen are that if we stopped altogether right now putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, it will take 25 to 100 years before climate change will stop getting worse.
But there is no climate change. It's a Chinese myth.
Yeah, it's a... and you know, the thing is, we've got people...
There's not a baseball bat around here you can use to hit me.
I'm not going to hit you over that, Tom. Truth be told, I wouldn't hit Donald Trump with a baseball bat. Baseball bats are worse than guns. They really are. You know, if they're used as weapons, they can be lethal.
Oh yeah, they're good weapons.
Anyway, here we are. We're in a situation where scientists are saying that things are bad. There's no contrary evidence, although you know, the Heartland Institute and Cato Institute, Heartland Foundation, Cato Institute, Breitbart, all those guys are probably going to be saying, well, there's no evidence to support this. It's just one study.
Yeah, one study done by 97,000 people.
Done by competent people. And of course, they can come up with another study, which can be authored by Willie Soon, you know, who's paid.
Well, this is their plan, you know, just to cast doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not coming up with evidence, but they're casting doubt.
And meanwhile...
Oh, there's two sides to every question.
Yeah, right. And what'll happen is by the time it turns out that we know that that Europe is basically lost in terms of what it's like now.
Think of the refugees.
They're going to be gone.
We're going to have to start discriminating against the British.
Yeah, well.
And the Norwegians.
And the Norwegians, and the Irish, and the Italians, and, you know. And the other thing about this, of course, is that if it's true, it's not just Europe, it's the whole world is going to be undergoing fairly rapid, which I think it already is, but it'll be undergoing fairly rapid climate change that will be disruptive. And that means the place where you're planting corn this year will not be suitable for corn a couple of years hence. And that means constant, the rule of the day for agriculture will be constant disruption. And that in turn means...
the solution is very simple, depopulation.
That's not...
There's people thinking about exactly that.
I know, that's not the solution, that's the result. And it's unfortunately, I think, we could have huge, huge, huge numbers of people dying unhappy deaths. However, we can't dwell on that.
Note.
We cannot dwell on that forever, and we have to get to our regular news. So I want to start with an item from Renewables now.
This is a good item.
And we have a picture here of a Google data center in the Netherlands. What's the title, Tom?
Google hits 100% renewables goal for 2017.
Well,
by the way, we'll find out later. Apple did too.
Yeah. Thanks for spoiling it. I like spoilers. I like knowing where we're going. So. Internet giant Google Incorporated announced it has achieved its goal of purchasing enough renewable energy electricity to match its entire consumption in 2017. The company purchased an amount of electricity from wind and solar parks that even exceeded the demand of its global operations, including offices and data centers. That means it's got a surplus. What's it doing? Selling the surplus? I don't know. But it's...
Yeah, of course they are, but yeah.
Renewables now had that.
There's a quick takeaway here.
Yeah.
At present, the company, that's Google, has power purchasing agreements for 3 gigawatts of renewable energy.
Yes.
Making it the first large internet company to have achieved this.
Yes.
So they know which side of their bread is buttered.
Yeah, and
you know, taking advantage of that.
The interesting thing that I see is last week we were talking about a company that had come up with a energy data storage system that reduces the amount of energy needed by 83%.
Yeah.
So we've got something like that data center that we just saw on the screen, and that guy's, you know, Google has got a lot of renewable energy going into these data centers where it's used to store data, and that amount of energy is not going to be needed in the not very distant future. And we'll get back to this too.
If you look at that picture there, all that stuff in the back, it's just one giant computer. Basically, that's all it is. It's just storing the data that Google needs to operate.
Yep. I will bring this back up again in another article in the just.
Well, it's very timely.
Yeah. Okay. We have an item from Clean Technica.
We do. 11. I'm getting ahead now.
That's okay.
Let's try to figure out who wants to be where.
Yeah.
11 U.S. states to challenge EPA rollback of 2025 fuel efficiency standards. Well, this is a biggie too.
Yes, it is. The EPA is pursuing a rollback of earlier plans implemented under Barack Obama to raise the new vehicle fuel efficiency standard to nearly 50 miles per gallon by 2025. That would be a fleet level requirement, not a model level. In response to that,
all of their cars, average.
Right. In response to that, 11 U.S. states have now revealed an intention to oppose the rollback.
Well, apparently they have the right to do that, or at least California specifically.
California
has been granted in a court case.
Yes.
That right.
Yes.
And these other states are kind of riding on California's coattails.
Right.
New York is one of them. I think Vermont is one of them.
Yes. Probably Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, yep.
Yep. So, should we go on?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay. We've got a picture of a wind turbine
coming up too.
Yep, and this is an item from Energy Digital.
You know, we'll talk a little bit later about how big these things really are.
You know, that nacelle, which is on the top of that, of the wind turbine, the thing that the hub of the nacelle is in.
That too. That's big.
Those things are big enough that if you had one just lying on the ground in India, people would move into it and live there and consider it a very comfortable place to live.
Well, I'll get ahead of myself, but that's big enough to carry 3 Greyhound buses.
Yeah.
2 of them side by side, and the other one you'd have to cut in half and place behind. And they fit.
But it's not nice to cut a Greyhound bus in half. Okay.
Solar and wind power. Well, that's what you're going to say.
Yes.
More power provided room. Shoot.
That's okay, Tom.
More power provided from wind and solar than nuclear for the first time in the UK.
Solar and wind power were responsible for generating more energy than nuclear power in the UK in the 4th quarter of last year. Wind and solar combined created 18.33 terawatt hours of power, while nuclear only produced 16.69. However, gas produced 36.12 terawatt hours of power and remains the UK's highest source of electricity.
Well, they've had particularly high-speed winds.
Yes.
And new renewables popping up all over the place.
Yes.
And a drop in nuclear output. So this is
a
natural
you
event,
put it,
really.
Yeah, sooner or later it was going to happen. We are up to Friday, April 5th, and you can go to the geoharvey.com and click on the date if you want to get to these articles.
Some of them are worth looking at. I'll mention a few because we got a couple of nice ones.
This is one from Bloomberg.
Friday, Trump says he's looking at emergency aid for battered power plants. And we talked about this last week. And it's the same guys.
Yeah. President Donald Trump said his administration is considering taking extraordinary steps to keep some money-losing power plants alive. I'm going to say money-losing, that means uncompetitive. First Energy Solutions asked the DOE head...
Who?
First Energy Solutions. I think we brought them up about 3 times last week. Asked DOE head Rick Perry to exercise his Section 202 authority to declare a grid emergency and guarantee the profits of nuclear and coal-fired power plants in the eastern United States.
Say that last sentence again, because that's it. That's what it's all about.
First Energy Solutions asked DOE head Rick Perry to exercise his Section 202 authority to declare a grid emergency and guarantee the profits of nuclear and coal-fired power plants in the eastern U.S. By the way, this is not the purpose of Section 202. Section 202 dealt with real emergencies, and
it's a fabricated emergency.
Well, according to the people who are controlling the grids, it's a fabricated emergency. The guys
it's
who
an
are
emergency for First Energy.
Yes, that's right.
Who, by the way, right after this article was published, filed for bankruptcy.
Yes, that's right. Okay, should we continue, or do you want to dwell on that sad event?
Well, we dwelled on it last week.
Yeah, we
did.
did.
As they say in Britain.
Go to last week.
On it.
Yeah, we what?
We dwelt upon it.
We dwelt upon it. Okay.
This is a good one coming up.
And this is from the Conversation AU, and I'm going to interject a bunch of stuff on this one.
Well, let's look at the picture first.
Yeah, let's look at the picture.
Is saying what it's.
Yeah, keep that up, Tom. But tell us the title.
Solar, PV, and wind are on track to replace all coal, oil, and gas within 2 decades. This is a good article.
Yeah, it is.
Especially if you're a techie.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of data here.
Solar, PV, and wind power are getting cheaper and more abundant so rapidly that they're on track to entirely supplant fossil fuels worldwide within 2 decades. The political voices saying Australia needs new coal stations. We could say this in the United States too, that we want to save new coal stations. Those voices sound rather quaint. Put that back up again, will you?
Yep.
Now, I want to point out the EIA and the IEA, that is to say the Energy Information Administration, which is a U.S. organization and was put together to advise Congress, and the International Energy Agency both have graphs that are very different from this. They show a growth in renewables that is far, far less steep than that yellow line gets.
It's kind of almost a straight line.
Yeah.
We've talked about
They also show the fossil fuels being more or less a straight line. But
Well, if you're looking out there, you want to look at the black line, and
Yep.
the yellow line.
Yep.
That's
Now,
the significant stuff.
I'm going to say that I think that renewables are going to fossil fuels are going to collapse far before 2032. And part of the reason for that is because of the red line at the top. That is demand growth, and the fact is we haven't seen the demand. It's not growing like that.
It's not growing at all right now.
That's right. So I think even this graph is probably wrong. But you know, Tom, I've talked about Wright's law,
Yeah.
which is a law that says as you make more of something, you get more efficient, you learn more, it becomes better, it becomes cheaper. And we've seen that happen over and over and over again. And there's an interesting article on that in Wikipedia, and if you look at it, you'll see it even applied to automobiles when they first started up. It becomes less effective with the passage of time, but the time can be very long.
I think if automobiles were following that law today, we'd have driverless cars for the last 30 years.
Yeah, probably. But what happened in cars was Henry Ford said, okay, I'm going to double the workers' pay. I'm going to reduce the time that they're in the plant.
Nuts, wasn't he?
Yeah, nuts, crazy like a fox. And I'm going to charge half as much for. I don't remember the actual figures, but it was
He did some very radical things.
radical stuff. He did it all at once, and
won.
it worked.
He won.
Well, I looked into a different Wikipedia article called FLOPS, F-L-O-P-S.
Yeah.
FLOPS is floating point, that's the FL, ops, operations, per second, which is where the S comes from.
Like in megaflops.
Yeah, and gigaflops. And that little computer that I had, I'll tell you about that in a moment. But they had a graph that showed prices that they had been able to establish. And the original price for a gigaflops, in 1961 was $157 billion for 1 gigaflops in terms of 2017 dollars. By the time that I was working in Massachusetts on computer tech, where I was working in a place that was dedicated to the pursuit of megaflops, the price had probably declined to about $150,000 per gigaflops. That's a decline where the original price is divided by 1 million.
Wow.
Today, according to the Wikipedia article,
they're going to be paying you to take gigaflops.
It's 3 cents. So it's gone from $157 billion to 3 cents.
Boy.
Well, that's in a specific kind of computer. That little computer that I had in here that cost $35, that computer operates at about 5 gigaflops. Amazing. So in 1961 prices, that would have been $750 billion.
And it would have been it would have required a space almost in this whole building.
Yeah. and or more, and it's the size of a pack of cards. This graph is a graph that I don't know if they're using Wright's law in that, but Wright's law has been applying not just to computers, it's been applying to solar PVs, and it's been applying to wind turbines.
Results.
Yes. And so that yellow line might get steeper, and the black line might collapse altogether very quickly, and the red line I believe actually is going to go up, but it's going to go up because we're going to have
slower than that.
No, I think it'll go up a little bit faster, but it'll go up because we will be starting to heat homes and drive cars and so forth using electricity.
Yep.
So basically, I'm saying, yeah, these guys have got it better than the EIA, I think. But I don't think they're quite there with this. Okay.
Quick takeaway here.
Yeah.
The reality is that the rising tide of solar photovoltaics and wind energy offers our only realistic chance of avoiding dangerous climate change.
Yeah. And
80% of Australia's greenhouse gas emissions are due to the use of coal, oil, and gas. This article is about Australia.
Yeah.
Typical for industrial countries.
Yeah.
So this has to change, and it is changing.
It has to change. And okay, what are we going to do if the Gulf Stream stops?
You haven't even mentioned that, have you? Or have you? We were talking about it.
We were talking about Paris having a climate.
Yet?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's not good news.
That's not good news. And, you know, I mean, what do I think is going to happen here? Well, I think depending upon how fast it becomes evident to people what's going on, we may or may not see certain people who are trying to prevent action from being taken to stop this going to jail. I'm talking about a couple of guys in Wichita.
That would be pleasant.
I don't want people to...
Another element, I read something today, and it disturbs me. It appears as if large-scale wind is going to be outlawed in Vermont.
It could be. It effectively
through the
is.
back door.
It effectively is already, and that law is going to have to be undone. It's going to have to be undone if we're going to survive, because that law is a reckless approach.
Well, they had a meeting, I think, in Westminster.
Yeah.
And the only people speaking at the meeting was a well-organized group of NIMBYs.
Yes.
They were all there. They packed the meeting, and they were about the only people speaking.
Yeah.
And it's about the Wyndham Regional Commission and
yeah, which is dominated by people who are
NIMBYs,
who are visceral. They aren't rational. They are visceral.
They're organized and they're visceral. You're right.
And when
you
they
say conspiracy theory,
when what's happening here becomes clear to everybody, that there will be a reaction to that.
Yes, it will be, but it's going to take a while.
I don't know how long it's going to take.
You know what? I find it very ironic because most of these people, this group of NIMBYs, are from the Grafton area and the Wyndham area.
Yeah.
And they're in opposition to that wind farm that was proposed up there, both of us have been up there.
Yeah.
And I'm up there and I'm looking at what are they trying to save?
Yes.
It's a power line, a dual power line goes right through it.
Yeah.
And that's where they're going to put the
and this was land that had been clear cut before the people doing this. I mean, the trees were 20 feet tall.
There are no trees there, and there's a road right up the middle of it.
Yeah, well, the center stretch of this thing was open and it had to be kept open because of the power lines. Off to the side were trees, but they were like 20 feet, maybe 30 feet tall, because the whole thing had been clear cut only a few years earlier. This is not a pristine forest, but they were saying it was a pristine forest.
They were saying that it was.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you go off 50 yards over here, there's a little pristine section, you know.
Yeah, of
little
baby
there's
fir
another
trees.
one here.
Okay, we're in deep trouble. People are dying, and they're complaining about not protecting people from getting nausea.
If even that.
And how many people are dying? According to that MIT study, 200,000 a year in the United States. That means about 400 a year in Vermont are dying, and we're spending, according to the American Lung Association, close to $500 a year each on the medical expenses that are tied to fossil fuels just from the transportation sector. And they're talking about migraine headaches and nausea. And, you know, well, okay.
Well, wind turbine syndrome is real.
Yeah.
It's caused by a virus.
Yep.
And the virus is spread by word of mouth.
Yep. Let's go ahead. Saturday, April 7th, and we've got a picture of, what in the world is that?
We got a picture here. And the picture explains, what does it say?
Click on that again, will you, Tom? There's something funny going on with the monitor.
Yeah.
There we go. Ah, that looks better. There
we
you
go.
Okay, this is from...
What does it say? Craig Station in northwest
Colorado.
That's a coal-burning station that they're about to close down, which is about what we're going to talk about.
Yep, and this is from the Energy News Network.
Power Sector Carbon Index. No, that's Clean Technical. We talked about that one, didn't we?
You know what? I skipped ahead.
I think you did.
Let's go back. Okay, we do this every week. We actually rehearse this. It's just a show that we're hokey. Go ahead, Clean Technical.
Okay, so we're not on the one we looked at yet.
Not yet.
We'll get
there.
Ahead of the game, and I'll put us both up here.
Okay, good idea.
And what it says is Power Sector Carbon Index highlights falling levels of carbon pollution.
Right.
The power sector carbon index.
Yep.
That seems like good news.
Yes, it does. The latest report from the Power Sector Carbon Index highlights how far carbon emissions from power generation sector of the U.S. economy have fallen. In 2005, generating a megawatt hour of U.S. electricity released 1,321 pounds of CO2. Today, the number is down to 967 pounds per megawatt hour, which is about a 25% drop, according to the report. Now, I want to point out, we've got other problems besides the power sector. The power sector is
It's part of it.
Is part of it, but
it's not the only one.
And we've got to deal with heat.
And the power sector means generating electricity from
We've got to deal with heat, and we've got to deal with transportation, and we've got to deal with a lot of industry. Yes, absolutely. Transportation is the source of 47% of the fossil fuels burned in Vermont, according to our data that was published some time ago.
Pretty good for the country as a whole.
Yep. It's 47% is high for the rest of the country.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just give this report a little bit of credibility. This power sector index is run by Carnegie Mellon University.
Yep.
And they seem to have done their homework.
Yep. Carnegie is an interesting guy. Was an interesting
guy.
He made lots and lots and lots and lots of money. And then he decided that he wanted
let his kids have it.
He wanted to give it all. He wanted to die broke, and he just gave money away.
Well,
and that's
where every town in America's got a library that he funded.
Well, 10,000 of them anyway.
Yeah.
He funded all these libraries, and some of those libraries were like, they would, a town would say, we want a library, and he'd say, where are you going to put it? He didn't do this personally, but where are you going to put it? Well, we've got a hardware store that has agreed to set it up in a corner of the store. And so, they'd ship him a library of books to put up in the corner of the store. And that was the Carnegie Library.
Well, you can spot these things now because they all look alike. I mean, seriously, you go to little towns in Massachusetts, and there's this stone building, and it's the library.
Called the Carnegie Library.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're up to Saturday, April 7th, and we've got an item from Energy News Network, and we've got a cow.
Got a picture
we got cows.
We got cows.
That's a line from Twister, where they're talking about the tornado, and the woman looks out.
Well, that is one of one of the coal burning stations in Colorado.
Right.
That we're going to be talking about.
Right.
And the headline is Colorado co-ops consider dropping their energy provider. And this is significant.
It is.
In Colorado and 3 other states, most of the power is produced by these co-ops.
Yep.
And the co-ops, in turn, have formed a bigger co-op to be their supplier. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah. A cooperative serving 4 western states could lose customers because, now the customers are those local co-ops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because of its dependence on coal. Colorado-based Tri-State Generation and Transmission boasts of having the most solar generation of any generation and transmission company in the United States. But
this is big. I mean, this is 4 states. Okay?
Yep.
And they're big states.
Yep.
New Mexico, Colorado, Nebraska, and Wyoming.
Yep. Its coal-heavy portfolio is an issue with several of the 43 member cooperatives. So
that's the local power companies that are owned by the people.
Yep. So that's, an indication that local co-ops, they've got 2 different reasons to do this, one of which has to do with the idea of saving the planet, and the other has to do with the idea of saving the pocketbook, because they're in the same place for now. They are in agreement with each other.
Well, it seems that these guys weren't minding the store well.
Yes, they and First Energy.
they weren't keeping their finger on the pulse.
Right.
And that's what's happening, because some of these co-ops are saying, hey guys, get with it.
Yeah.
And the other guys are, oh yeah, it's nice.
Yep.
Let's go fishing.
Yeah. Okay, we're up to an item from CNET.
Okay. Yeah, we got you up there. Well, us up there.
Us up there is fine.
Apple takes on U.S. government over clean power.
Yeah, here we go.
Interesting one.
Apple said it's filing a statement objecting to the EPA's repeal of the Clean Power Plan. Apple has invested heavily in renewable energy, which puts it and the U.S. in a better position to compete with China in clean energy. The iPhone maker also pointed out that the clean energy plan can help stabilize otherwise fluctuating fuel prices.
So what Apple's saying, hey, you guys are costing us money.
That's right. This is something that we haven't talked about a lot, but we have talked about it, and that is the price of oil, the price of gas, the price of coal goes up, goes down, and as a result of that, the price of energy goes up and down.
Yeah.
The price of solar power does not go up and down. The price of wind power does not go up and down.
They're going down.
Well, the price of the installations are going down. The price of the power they're producing on PPAs, power purchase agreements,
Staying flat.
is going down. But the actual cost of the sunshine and the wind,
That's staying flat.
That's staying at zero. Okay.
Well, if you don't have to pay for your fuel, you're ahead of the game, aren't you?
Somewhat. Yes. Okay. Should we move on?
I guess so, because there's really not a lot we could talk about this article without that we haven't talked about already. So let's get the next one. We're getting a little closer to home.
Yep. Renewable Energy Magazine gave us this.
This is kind of interesting. Trump administration proposes sale for wind projects off the Massachusetts coast. Now, we have talked about these projects,
Yeah.
but now it's been expanded because there's already 2 projects going in over there.
Yes.
This is just south of Nantucket.
Yes. The Trump administration said it wants to sell leases for 2 large parcels off the Massachusetts coast for commercial wind energy projects. The proposed sale lease is, quote, for commercial leasing for wind power on the outer continental shelf offshore Massachusetts, end quote. The leases
This is a big lease. It's 300,000 acres.
390,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
390, yeah, 400.
I was about to
almost
say
400.
that in my next sentence. The leases will cover an area will be for an area covering nearly 390,000
And
acres.
to put that in American, it's 600 square miles. That's big.
Okay, 600 square miles is a piece of territory 10 miles wide and 60 miles long.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And that's about what these things are, because that's the kind of shape they are.
Yeah, but it's not just the Massachusetts coast, it's the whole East Coast and the Gulf. They've got
Well, in this particular case,
this
they've
particular-
identified these 2 parcels,
Yeah.
which are sort of in Rhode Island and sort of in
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
And there's a lot of movement down there because there's a lot of people who are seeing a lot of jobs being created. And it's not just jobs installing these wind turbines, it's jobs building the masts, building the blades. They're going to be put into New Bedford and Providence and places like that.
Ultimately, there's a supply chain developing as we speak
Right.
that's going to stay in place.
Right, and the people who maintain these turbines are going to have to visit each one every few days. So there's going to be a lot of them.
I think there's probably going to be people living on some of these.
There may be. There may be.
You know,
They're big
technician
enough.
kind of people.
Yeah, I think I'd put them, people living on the platforms that have the transformers and things.
Yeah, that's where they'll
Probably
be.
a good place.
That's where they will be.
Okay, we are up to Sunday, April 8th.
Well, I got a quick takeaway here because
Oh.
this is a quick takeaway.
Okay, quick.
I mean, a quick turnaround for Trump
Yeah.
because he has been panning both wind and solar.
This isn't
And
him
this other
doing
guy, Zinke, has been following his. So they've both done an about face on this.
Well, they've done an about face, except that they're both in favor of building business, and they see that wind power is business, I think.
I think that's what's going on, but it's reality too.
Yeah. We're up to Sunday.
It's not bad news.
April 8th. No, I don't think so. And I've got a picture
Yeah,
of
this is an interesting. This is
thing.
very interesting.
This is in an article in Clean Technica.
Plus Energy Building Design. This is Plus Energy is a trademark kind of
Yep.
thing. 101. Heliotrope, solar settlement, and sunship. It's a neat website. This is fun. That's the heliotrope that you're looking
Thing
at.
in the middle of the picture there.
And
that
heliotrope
round
means
thing.
follow the sun,
Yes,
and that thing follows the sun. The
Yeah.
whole thing turns.
the whole thing turns. The term pulse energy was apparently first used
Plus energy.
Plus energy, sorry, by Rolf Disch back in 1994 when designing a private residence for himself, now known as the heliotrope, which is the thing in the picture. The idea was for the building to produce notably more electricity than it uses
And it is noticeable.
Yeah.
Notable.
Yep. Through renewable energy technology, it serves its own needs and becomes a local power plant. And that thing, which looks like it's about 6 stories tall, is a house that rotates to follow
The guy
the
lives
sun.
in it. That's his house. That's
his
the architect's house.
Yeah.
And it turns. It rotates.
Yeah.
Follows the sun. And he has a kind of triple play here. The heliotrope, which is his house, the solar settlement is 60 houses, 59 to be exact, all of which are solar. And right next to that is the Sunship, which is a commercial complex. So he's built himself like a whole little town of solar.
Yeah. And my recollection from reading the article was that building produces about 6 times as much energy as it needs.
Well, the article says between 4 and 8, so 6 is right in there.
See, I can remember things,
And
even though I'm a geezer.
all of these things are producing more energy than they use.
Yes.
And they're nice. They're neat looking.
They're,
this is a good article, good website to look at.
Yeah,
it's
I
kind
think
of fun.
it might be fun to live in a house where the shadows don't move, but the house does. Okay, our next item is from The Guardian.
Well, let's get us up here while I talk about it.
Okay.
Abandoned collieries could hold the key to heating UK homes. This is an interesting article.
Yeah, colliery, by the way, is a place where they deal with coal.
It's a coal mine.
It's a coal mine.
Yeah.
Scientists are finalizing plans to exploit the last reservoir of warm water that fills disused mines and porous rock formations beneath Glasgow, Scotland, obviously. They believe this subterranean store of naturally heated water could be used to warm homes. If the system proves successful, other cities and towns across Britain might use similar systems.
But the water's there.
Yeah.
It's like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to really keep anybody very warm. But by using heat transfer, heat pumps, like you got in a refrigerator,
right,
they can get that up into very hot water,
yep,
and they can pipe it into people's homes.
Yes.
It's a resource. They're just exploring it, but it looks like it's very likely it's going to happen.
Yeah. I just wrote an article about a system similar to this that doesn't even have a heat pump. And the water is like 50 degrees or 55 degrees. And it's at the Nashville International Airport. And the runway of the airport had to be extensively filled in where it crossed what used to be an open pit coal mine. But there's still a lot of that coal mine left as a big pit in the ground, and it's full of water. And so what they are doing is they're putting they put a bunch of heat exchangers in there from a company. I wish I could remember the name of the company. It's in Louisiana. It'll be in Green Energy Times. But they put a bunch of heat exchangers in. They're pumping a lot of water through these heat exchangers, bringing it back into the airport and using it for air conditioning.
You can do that.
And it's saving them $400,000 a year.
That ain't hay.
No.
Let's bring this a little closer to home.
Yeah.
Well, finish your thought.
They said it would be 400,000. They were wrong. It turned out that they underestimated the amount. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah, we got another one here.
We've got one
another
here.
Picture here.
I like this picture. I want to explain the picture a little bit, but this is an article from Clean
Let's
Technica.
get the picture here.
Yeah.
Construction of a 100,000 square foot expansion starts at BYD's California factory. Now, BYD is a very large Chinese company that builds these things.
Yes.
And BYD stands for Build Your Dreams.
Yeah, it's interesting that the Chinese would have a name like that that's from English.
They do stuff like that.
Yeah. BYD announced another expansion to its Lancaster, California electric bus and battery module factory. I read that and I said, another? What? The expansion will add 100,000 square feet to the facility when it comes online at the end of June. It will be used to store parts and components for BYD's products, freeing up space in the plant for manufacturing.
These are all electric, by the way.
This plant hasn't even been finished yet. It isn't producing anything yet, and this is, I think,
it's a big warehouse now.
It's like their second their
Well,
second
they put an
expansion.
expansion on it in September.
Yeah.
This is the second one.
This is a second expansion to a plant that has not yet entered into production. Now, I want those pictures.
I'll put the picture is
the
up.
picture's
Yeah.
up there. I want to point out there's a
They're all
double-decker
electrics.
bus. There's a double-decker bus. There's another vehicle.
It's a street sweeper.
Okay, and the third vehicle is a cement mixer.
Yeah.
These
They're
are
all
all
electric.
electric.
Yeah.
They've got electric cement mixers.
Yeah.
This stuff, these things are not
They turn all the time.
yeah, these things are not in the United States. They're in China. The United States, I believe, still has fewer than 1,000 electric buses.
Well, they will be making these things in California.
In big quantities compared to what we've seen before.
Well, they're talking about making 400 fully electric trucks in California
Okay.
and 1,500 buses. Wow.
Okay. Okay, we should move on, if you don't mind.
We've talked about whatever else I was going to mention. So
Okay,
yeah, we
we're
got
up to
another picture coming
Monday, April 9th, and we've got a picture of the Lower Granite Dam.
up. This is an interesting article too.
Yeah.
Take a good look at that. I don't know. Is that the black thing in the middle? Is that a solar panel or is it an air?
The
runway?
black thing in the middle is, I believe, a spillway. I might be wrong, but
It
looks,
could be.
looks
it could
like
be.
part of a spillway.
It could be solar. It could be a runway for an airplane.
I'm
I
sure
don't
that
know.
it's not a. I'm sure it's not a solar thing.
In any case, we'll get to this. This is pretty
Yeah.
controversial.
Okay.
Replacing power produced by 4 Snake River dams is feasible.
The Spokesman Review is the source of this. 4 dams in the lower Snake River, which is in Washington State, provide about 4% of the region's electricity, but they have been responsible for declining salmon populations. The energy they produce could be replaced by a mix of other clean energy sources, including wind, solar, and I believe they were talking about battery backup. I don't have that down in my notes here, though.
I don't have anything about
According
that
to
either.
a recent study. So they're looking at this, and they're actually thinking of removing 4 dams for the sake of the salmon, which of course is a pretty important thing in that part of this country.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And the salmon are under a great deal of pressure. So that's, but it's interesting that they would be saying.
A poll they had last year showed that a majority of the Washingtonians would rather see increased wild salmon than preserve the dams.
Yes.
But the critics say, well, that's not exactly fair. We can do both.
Yeah.
And they probably can, so.
We'll
I don't
see
know, I'm kind
what
of
they
in
do.
favor of solar, of hydro.
I am
'cause it's
too.
renewable.
If it's already in place, and they
Think of
especially
fish ladders, the
Yeah,
technology exists.
especially if they can do something to get the fish past those dams, but they will have to work on it. It won't be easy.
They're going to have to do something.
Maybe they'll invent a fish elevator.
It's probably been invented already.
Okay.
There's
We
a
should-
fish ladder right here outside of Brattleboro, by the way, on the Connecticut River.
Yeah.
Going around the old hydro project that they put back in there in 1910.
Where is that?
Vernon.
Oh, in Vernon.
Yeah.
The Vernon Dam?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's a fish ladder there.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's another one that you can visit. I think it's in Bellows Falls.
I don't know about that one. but
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
All right. So we're up to an article from Clean Technica.
14 U.S. states sue the EPA over methane emissions standards delays.
This sounds like the same thing that we were just talking about.
Well, it isn't the same thing, but it's the same idea.
Yeah. Now I've just lost my place here.
A new lawsuit.
I've got it. A new lawsuit was filed by the EPA against the EPA by 14 states over the agency's slow action issuing federal methane emission standards, reports say. A new legal challenge comes about 9 months after a federal appeals court ruled that the EPA was not legally able to freeze enforcement of its methane leak rules relating to oil and gas operations. In other words, the court said, you've got to do something about this. And the EPA said, oh, okay, and then walked away and didn't do anything.
And that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, get on the stick. You got to do this.
Yep.
And by the way, Vermont is a part of this suit as well.
Yes. This is,
California, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Iowa, New
It's
Mexico.
interesting that Pennsylvania is in it.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
And
we have to move on, Tom. I think we've got
we've got
7
another
items
picture
left
here.
to do in 14 minutes.
we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. Let's do it. Okay.
Wind turbines boost Scottish grid by 44%
This
in the
is
first
amazing.
quarter.
Yeah. STV News provided this. Wind turbines in Scotland provided a 44% increase in power to the national grid during the first quarter of 2018 compared to the same period in 2017, according to environmental groups. In January alone, renewable wind from offshore turbines was over 5,353,997 megawatt hours, enough to power more than 5 million homes. Now, it's interesting because that, I think, is about double the number of homes in Scotland.
It probably is. According to this article, 68% of Scotland's overall electricity demand was from renewables in 2017.
Right.
So the Scots, well, we'll talk about them
They're-
again, but
yeah.
they're on the top of things here.
Right. Okay.
Tuesday, April 10th.
Yes, indeed, and we have an item from Clean Technica. That's an interesting picture.
Is that that picture goes for the next one?
Yes,
That's on the next.
it's the next one. Ah, so it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
2018 global solar demand predicted to hit a record 113 gigawatts.
Yeah.
That's a lot, guys.
Yeah, it
That's a
is.
lot.
London-based market data company IHS Markit predicted that strong demand in China will push global solar demand to a record of 113 gigawatts in 2018 and should even result in the fourth quarter yielding 34 gigawatts of new PV installations, the largest quarter in history. It predicted new installations will grow by 19% in 2018, and 113 gigawatts of solar power, it might be 20 gigawatts of nuclear or 25 or 30, depending upon where it's put in. But that's a lot for 1 year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, in addition to China, this IHS Markit outfit is expecting India to overtake the United States as the planet's second largest PV market. This is India.
Yeah,
Okay.
India and China, developing countries are beating the United
The
States. What does
U.S.
this
will
tell you?
suffer from President Trump's decision to impose a 30% tariff on imported cells and modules.
President,
Emerging markets such as Mexico and Egypt will both begin to account for a significant percentage of overall capacity,
Right.
while the United States, United Kingdom, United States, and South Korea will see their shares falling.
you know, climate change represents, if you want to look at it this way, the biggest business opportunity that has ever faced mankind.
You know, I wouldn't bet against that.
And
I
so
certainly
we've
wouldn't
got
bet
a
against that.
president of the United States who is saying the biggest business opportunity ever to come across the biggest business opportunity ever to come to mankind is a fraud.
Hey, look, the guy doesn't even lace his shoes, for Christ's sake.
Man. Okay, we've got an item from Clean Technica.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
there's a
the
lot
one.
of pictures in this one.
There's a lot of
this one's
pictures,
nice.
and it took me a
Let's
long
get that
time to
picture
figure
there.
out exactly what this picture was.
It's not a snake, guys. Not a highway.
No.
Apple's. This is a repeat kind of our very second article today.
Yes, it is.
Apple's global operations now powered by 100% renewable energy.
Apple announced that its global operations are now powered by 100% renewable energy after years of work in 43 countries around the world. Apple's announcement means that all of its data centers, retail stores, offices, and co-located facilities in 43 countries around the world are now 100% powered by renewable energy. And by the way, that includes a lot of the companies that they get their products from, that they buy.
They're working on their supply chain.
They're working on their supply chain.
They're
I mean,
leaning on
this
these
is like,
people.
we're not done with this. We've achieved 100%, but we're not done.
Yeah.
So
Good news.
Yeah, it is. And that picture is a picture of the rooftop solar system on Apple's world headquarters in Cupertino, California.
That's what it says.
And I mean, aside from the fact that that is a huge place, it's just a kind of a stunning picture. I mean, they've got a park in the middle of their corporate headquarters.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of this. Well, this particular website has a lot of pictures of
It does.
all of their headquarters.
Yes, it does.
With all of their solar, and it's quite
Yeah,
interesting.
It is. Okay.
And the takeaway from this is, if Apple can do it, why can't you?
Yeah. Okay, and we've got another item from Clean Technica.
Above average hurricane season expected this year. That's not good news.
An above average storm season with regard to the probability of major hurricanes striking in the mainland is facing the U.S. this year, a report from meteorologists at Colorado State University says. The report says that the U.S. Gulf Coast and East Coast are facing 39 and 38% probabilities, respectively, that major hurricanes will make landfall this year. A major hurricane is a hurricane...
Over 110.
Yeah, it's a Category 3 or stronger.
It's a strong hurricane.
It's a strong hurricane.
These are the ones that cause the damage.
You don't want to be involved in one of these guys.
I don't think you can stand in a 110-degree wind.
Probably not. Probably not. Okay, we're up to Wednesday, April 11th, and we have a slide here.
This is the last day. We got 8 minutes to do it.
We'll get through it. We're powering on.
This is an interesting one. We got a picture coming up here.
And this picture, I regret the lack of resolution on this picture. It's very fuzzy looking, but that's what the article had with it.
Well, Vattenfall, a company,
Yep.
a contractor really, installs the world's most powerful wind turbines.
This is from Clean Technica. The world's most powerful wind turbine, the first of two 8.8 megawatt turbines, has been successfully installed at Vattenfall's European Offshore Wind Deployment Center off the coast of northeast Scotland, which is set to be groundbreaking testbed for new wind technologies. It's the first time a turbine this large has ever been installed. It was hard for me to get clear from reading this article exactly what that installation is, but I think this is the one off Aberdeen that Donald Trump was objecting to.
It is that.
Okay.
It is that. I have I have a note to that. The EOWDC, which is their special area that they're putting in these turbines in, was conceived as a 92 megawatt, 11 turbine offshore wind power test and demonstration facility.
Yep.
Okay. It was initially involved in a legal battle with Donald Trump, who attempted to prevent the construction of an offshore wind farm he considered would be an eyesore to members of his nearby Trump International Golf Club. And by the way, he lost.
He lost. Not only did he lose, but he went before the Scottish Parliament, and when the Parliament released its report on this that involved his testimony, among other things, they said they had received no credible testimony from anyone opposing the wind farm.
But him?
No, not but him. They're saying
not at all. His wasn't credible.
His wasn't credible.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, we're talking about a man here who can. He's the only person I know I've ever seen. I don't know him. Who does this, but he will take a compound sentence consisting of two clauses that disagree with each other. Okay.
I got a little bit to talk about here. We got a little bit of time to do it.
Yeah.
You don't get any of that impression from that picture about how huge this installation actually is.
Yeah.
The nacelles, we mentioned that earlier, which is where all the guts of our turbine is.
Yep.
Big enough to hold 3 Greyhound buses.
Yep.
These things are big.
Yep.
I got some numbers here. The nacelle dimension is 25 by 25 by 60 feet. The turbines have a height of 625 feet. Now that's the top of the blade. The blades are 250 feet.
Yeah.
These things are huge.
They're big.
Run rotation of the blades can power the average UK home for a day. And Scotland is the windiest country in Europe and is home to 25% of Europe's offshore wind resources. But putting that thing into reality, that tip height of 625 feet is half the height of the Empire State Building.
Yes.
That is a big turbine.
Yep. If you look at that ship, you'll see that on the right side of the ship. Go back to the ship, Tom. On the right side of the ship, you've got that yellow construction that goes up in the air. At the bottom of the yellow construction, you can see a white area, and
That's the ship.
That's the
crew quarters and the captain's.
yeah. Basically, that's the control area of the ship, which looks to me like it's about 6 stories tall.
Probably is.
Yeah.
I'd certainly bet on 5.
Yeah, and this thing is not the ship that is putting in the wind turbines. I don't think it's tall enough for that. This is the one that's putting in.
Well, from the website, they show another one that's actually bigger than this.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
And what this is putting in is the base, which is a very, very heavy object. So this ship has to pick something, be able to pick something up that weighs, thousands of tons.
Weighs a lot.
Yeah, and
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Okay, we have to go on. Our next item comes from PC Magazine International.
Yeah, we get 2 articles left.
We do, in 3.5 minutes.
Renewables set to lower UK's summer demand for grid electricity. This is a quickie.
This is a quickie, except it says something that's important. This is from PV Magazine International. The UK's national grid, in its summer outlook report, reveals it is expecting summer demand for grid electricity to be dragged low, that's price-wise, due to growing amounts of small-scale renewable energy installed. That's rooftop solar and things like that.
That's people doing it on their own.
Yeah. The national grid warns that inflexible generators, such as large gas and nuclear plants, may have to reduce their output. In other words, these things that people have been telling us we really need, baseload power, are going to have to reduce their output to get out of the way of these small things that are very nimble.
Well, there's apparently more than 1 million independent rooftop solar PVs. And there's also wind farms.
Yeah.
Land-based wind farms.
Yep. Okay, we should get on so we can finish up. And we've got an item from ET Energy World that we really have to have in here. That's a nice picture of not what we're going to be talking about, but something kind of
growing
like
underneath those panels.
Yeah, grass. There isn't any grass growing in, for this one.
That's not grass.
What's that?
That's a crop.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
Look at it. It's in rows. Grass doesn't grow in rows.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
World's largest solar park approved in Gujarat, India. This is big.
Yes, it is.
This is very big.
Gujarat's chief minister approved setting up a 5,000 megawatt capacity solar park.
That's 5 gig. That's 10 Yankees.
Yes, in India. I'm not going to try to read the name of this because I don't know how to pronounce it, but it would be the largest such entity in the world after its completion. The proposed solar generator would be set up on 11,000 hectares of land, which I guess would be about 30,000 acres.
40,000 square miles. 40 square miles.
40 square miles, with an investment of 25,000 crore rupees, which is $3.76 billion. And it's interesting to me that the price of this is $3.76 billion, and its construction, its capacity is 5 billion watts, because that means it's going to be put in for a price of about 78 cents a watt.
78 cents?
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything that low.
Well, no. The Solar Shot initiative in the United States was going to try to get the price of solar down to $1 a watt by the year 2020.
Yeah.
These guys are doing it at, and that was $1 a watt utility scale.
This guy Modi is definitely planning on bringing India from
into the future,
15th century to the 22nd century.
That's right.
In a decade.
Yeah, in the time he's in office. And these people are moving on this. They're actually making headway. They're complaining constantly that they're not going to meet their goals. I mean, this is something where it's really kind of interesting to watch. But that price, which is about 76, 77 cents per watt, is stunningly low.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, he's got a target of producing 175 gigawatts.
Yep.
That's a lot of electricity.
Yep. We've got to go. Sorry. But there you go. That's sundown on the solar park. Hope to see you next week, or perhaps I should say I hope you see us.